Hello and welcome to Read Me Better. This podcast is where I will share insights from the books I've read, featuring stories and lessons from inspiring people and ideas that have left a lasting impact. The Ride of a Lifetime by Robert Iger. This is funny to say, but from time to time this autobiography reminded me of a Succession series. I first heard about Robert Iger while reading Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. In that biography, there is a section about the acquisition of Pixar by Disney, highlighting the connection between Jobs and Iger and their long walks to create a shared vision of combining these companies. Many years later, I bought Robert's memoir, The Ride of a Lifetime. The book begins with his humble start in a low-paying job at ABC and traces his remarkable journey to becoming the CEO of Disney, a company that acquired ABC. It's an incredible story of transformation, leadership, and vision. Iger shares not only his triumphs like the grand opening of Disneyland in Shanghai, but also challenging moments that require a lot of empathy, such as dealing with tragic incidents that occurred at the same time. What sets this book apart is its personal tone. It's not just about financial strategy or corporate achievements. Iger reflects deeply on his decisions, moments of doubt, and courage of action. His narrative provides a window into his mindset, his growth, and the lessons he learned along the way. This first-hand perspective is what makes The Ride of a Lifetime unique. Unlike biographies written by third-party authors, which tend to include multiple perspectives, Iger's memoir is a singular, personal one. It's told entirely from his point of view, which has its advantage in giving you access to the story from the inside. During reading, my book was getting dark with highlights and side notes. Today I want to share with you the distilled version of what I found curious. Optimism. You can follow it as a silver lining throughout the book. Robert tells a lot about how tone you set as a leader has an enormous effect on people around you. Leaders have so many problems, challenges, and they have a lot of reasons to be pessimistic. But leaders, as Robert mentioned, can't communicate that pessimism to people around, as it ruins morale and decreases energy. The next one, do what you need to make it better. This is a lesson from Roone Arledge, ABC sports manager Robert worked with. Robert explains that it is about creating an environment where you refuse to accept mediocrity. As an example, he mentions Jiro Dreams of Sushi, the movie about the master sushi chef who still perfects his art even being 80 years old. Robert says, this is what it looks like to take immense personal pride in the work you create, and to have both the instinct toward perfection and the work ethic to follow through on that instinct. In the book, he shared multiple examples. One that stuck with me was cleaning the gum from the bottoms of thousands of desks at his first job when he was 15 years old. Robert mentions that it helped him to build a character or tolerance to monotony. It reminded me of my first job. Of course, I was older when I started, but the task was simply copying information about books. I saw that nobody liked that job, but some people complained, others just did the job. Do what you need to make it better is a foundation for innovation. Innovate or die, and there is no innovation if you operate out of fear of new or untested. This is mantra that Robert keeps repeating again and again in the book. The third point, integrity is priceless. Early in his career, Robert discovers that his manager was using work to create kickbacks. It made a huge impact on him. He nearly lost his job in an attempt to expose that manager. Integrity has a broader meaning, and Roberts dives into it, providing valuable insights into people and teams you surround yourself with, as well as the actions you should take if integrity is breached. Next one, taking responsibility when you made a mistake. It is impossible to not have mistakes, but it is possible to acknowledge them, learning from them, and show that things can go wrong sometimes. As Robert explained, it is not about lowering your expectations or have a message that mistakes don't matter, but creating the environment where people can receive a second chances for their fair mistakes. Point number 5. Know what you don't know and trust in what you do. Lesson from Iger's manager, Dennis Swanson, after ABC was acquired by Tom Murphy and Dan Burke. Dennis was a new person in the role and was open about his lack of knowledge. He often sought help from others and was an excellent advocate for promoting people before managers. Robert continues on the thought that being humble is a way, as you can't pretend you know something when you don't. Smart people will see it. Admit what you don't know without an apology and do the work to learn what you need as fast as you can. Also, it is important to do a homework, as people who prepared materials for you can sense you didn't do your job. People can detect that easily, and then respect for you is gone. This approach worked out after he became the manager of ABC Entertainment, which is more about Hollywood than sports entertainment Robert used to do at the time. He used that approach to learn as quickly as possible in a new sphere. Point number 6. Be patient and look for opportunities. Iger emphasizes the importance of doing your job well and being proactive when opportunities arise. Pitch in, expand, and grow. Be someone your manager can count on to take on new challenges and responsibilities. Here is a quote from Dan Burke. Avoid getting into a business of manufacturing trombone oil. You may become the greatest trombone oil manufacturer in the world, but in the end, the world only consumes few quarters of trombone oil in a year. As Robert sums it up, don't invest in projects that will take your time and resources, but not give much back. One side note. When Robert became number 2 in Disney, he was impressed by Michael Eisner, who was a Disney CEO at the time. In particular, his ability to see the big picture as well as granular details at the same time, and moreover, he understood how they affect each other. Robert said that Michael could see details no one could see, and the collection of small improvements is what makes a good product great. Becoming the CEO of Disney. Brand manager and political consultant Scott Miller shared the playbook with Robert Iger to help him become the next CEO of Disney. Here are a few key ideas to mention. You can't win on the defensive. What lessons can we learn from the past to guide our path forward? Second point, you should have only 3 priorities, things that you will spend a lot of time and resources on. Bob expands on later and emphasizes the importance of clearly communicating and repeating priorities so that everyone in the company understands the focus. Now take a moment and put yourself in Bob's shoes. Imagine creating a future vision for a company with 130,000 employees. Well, it feels overwhelming to me. The last point, don't get your ego in the way of making the best possible decision. That's where I started to notice how good Robert is in communication with people. Steve Jobs is one example. There were discussions between Disney and Pixar about acquisitions even before Robert became the CEO. But he decided to start with Steve from a new page. He reached out to Steve with a vision to have access to the whole television history on a computer. It was a starting point in their friendship. In the end, they merged Disney and Pixar, where Steve became the biggest Disney shareholder. And this is the way they bonded through the vision. And you can find many such instances in the book. One last remark. Nobody believes the deal between Disney and Pixar was possible. But Robert created his case, presented it to the board, and had a permission to ask Steve. And when Robert called to Steve, Steve replied that that's not the craziest idea in the world, which was beyond all expectations that Robert had. And this is a story about courage. Courage to take the step we are usually hesitant to take when all odds are against us. And when it happens, you see that maybe the odds weren't actually that bad. In the second part of the book, Robert tells about the multi-billion-dollar acquisitions of Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm. He gives a lot of thought about the processes of company evaluation and explains why Pixar cost more than Lucasfilm. And this part I want to leave for you. I truly enjoy the ride of a lifetime, and it's definitely one of my recommendations. I hope you enjoy this review.